Welcome to the show. This is Jacob Milton. I'd like to invite each and every single Bangladeshi in abroad or in a country to watch our show and keep your minds open. Perhaps our conversation will take a turn you may not like or you may like it so much. This is very unusual conversation whenever we talk about our beloved country Bangladesh. One thing always hit my brain that I like to take pride out of our country's activities, governing, infrastructure, and our country's people as whole. Unfortunately, every single day, we Bangladeshi became alienated by our own action in abroad as well as our own country, Bangladesh. I do a talk show, not for living. I do a talk show as the part of my commitment towards my country that if my conversation or information can be useful for the benefit of my beloved society or my beloved country, it would be worth taking risk. I received numerous phone calls. People asked me that I made some bold statement in my previous show or 2-3 shows earlier. I always tell them that someone has to come forward and says, why not me? I tried my best to get our guests who are not only patriot Bangladeshi, at the same time, they're social, political, and economically diversified individual who can come up with a theory that can take our generation or prepare our generation to go forward, and they can face the new century as we all are living at the end of 21st century. Today, I am being thankful to my producer. I'd like to mention her name. She's no other than Nira, who made a bold effort to get one of the gentlemen who is living in this country over a decade, very well-known individual. For some reason, I never had opportunity to come across with him, but I was always thinking since I started this talk show that I'd like to have the gentleman and share his views with our community. He didn't come to my show doesn't necessarily mean that he did not share his views, but before this talk show, I had a little bit of chit chat with him and says, today we're gonna talk about something different. Today, our guest is no other than a gentleman named Abdul Latif Samrat. Samrat bhai, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
It's a pleasure to have someone like you to share your views, experience, not only as a political activist, but as a social activist. You happens to be a businessman. You happens to work for the New York City or New York State, as well as you are active for this community, I think more than 20 years?
It's more. It's 2.5 decades.
2.5 decades. And here we are together. I'm here, I live in this country since 1988. That's really surprised me that you and me, we never came across. But today is the lucky day, and I'm really thankful to my producer.
Lucky too. It's likewise here.
Okay.
And I thank your producer too. She took very extraordinary initiative to get me into the show.
And
my thanks to her.
Absolutely. Sharon bhai, simple thing. I know you are the supporter of Bangladesh Nationalist Party.
Yes, I am.
Why you think BNP is the true alternate to the current ruling party in Bangladesh?
Well, let me then go back a little bit, because if
Please.
I want to clearly present the case why BNP is the alternate and actually most viable party to rule this country, As you know that since 1974, 25th of January,
Yes.
I mean, unfortunately, this is the month we are going through. It was 25th January, the day before. And this is the day when the Bakshal was implemented and one party rule was established by the then Awami League government.
Yes.
And people actually had no choice but to surrender to the will of the dictatorial rule of that time. And all the political parties were banned except 4 newspapers. All the newspapers were banned. At that time there was not electronic private media.
Yes.
I mean, that was controlled by, excuse me,
State.
by the state anyway. So as you know, I mean, if a country cannot be run by the participations of the people, and also if one party rule is established in any country, then country has to have some kind of disaster in some form or other.
Do you think due to that action, the change of the government or change of the ruler took place in 1975?
That is one of the ultimate nail on the coffin. But if you, I know you were little at that time, I'm sure, but we were in the university, very involved in all the things that was going on at that time. And as you know, since the liberation, since the independence of the country, people actually had very high hopes, because the reason why we liberated from Pakistan was that we were the victim of economic injustice by them.
Yes.
They were actually discriminating in every phase of the economy against us. Even in socially, they were very degraded mentality of them. They never thought we are the most competent brothers and partners of the same country.
In a summarize, I can say people of East Pakistan were being segregated by the West Pakistani
Absolutely.
people, and that was the right
you have
term.
said it better. So immediately after the independence, people's hope started to be dashed down.
Okay.
Because, there was very serious famine.
Yes.
By the account of the then state head, it was said that almost 1 million people died out of starvation.
Yes, it is.
And the people did not have any means to meet their ends. People were very frustrated, and then a political party was established by the then student leader Ashama Abdul and Shahjan Shiraz, an army retired Major Jalil, and all others. And they tried to be an alternate viable party
to rule the country against
Awami League. But due to the tyrannic rule by Awami League, that they created a paramilitary.
Yes,
many people have a very misconception that this creation of RAB
is the equivalent to the Rokhi Bahini.
By BNP was the first in its kind. That is not true anyway.
Okay.
The first paramilitary was created by Awami government during that period, and in the name of Rokhi Bahini.
Right.
They were ruthless, they were brutal, they were punishing everybody who had dissent to the governing party of the then time.
According to the archive, there says that Rokhi Bahini was not under any judicial. They did not follow anything.
The very term extrajudicial killing actually started from that time.
Oh, got it.
And as at that time, the Jashad used to tell that 30,000 of their workers, their supporters, who were also the freedom fighters during the liberation war, were killed by the Rokhi Bahini. So all this combined, and also all the government facilities, everything was only, only the Awami League and their supporters were getting the benefits from all the government facilities. So people actually started to get very frustrated. They were looking for some kind of change, but they did not know how the
What
change
changes
will
that can
be
happen?
brought about. And then there were some immediate incidences like the
Military coup take place.
the infamous incidents. I hope many people who are watching this show would know that the thing that happened with the wife of Major Dalim
Yes.
was assaulted by some Awami Leaguers, including the son of the then Red Cross chairman, Ghazi Ghulam Mustafa, infamous guy who was charged with the blanket
Yes.
stealing of the country. Anyway, so those are the things that, and also people within the Awami League, was also were very angry the way the country was being governed. And that's why at some point of time when that military coup happened and the Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and his whole family, it is very unfortunate. I don't support it. I don't condone it. I don't like the way their family was killed. But that is what happened at that time. And then we found that the power of the country, the governance of the country was taken over by a fraction of Awami League headed by Mustaq. And then at that time there were a lot of people, Tahiruddin Thakur, Abdul Malik Ukil and all those.
Those are the people. I think most of the senior Awami League leaders supported.
All of them were there, included in that government. So as the turn of events keep happening, at some point of time, Mustaq, in November, Khaled Musharraf did a coup. Then there was a counter coup by Colonel Tahir. General Jia was arrested. And then he was, actually released from the captivity by the then armies, Jawans and all those. And most of you know the turn of events. Eventually, Jia became the leader of the country.
Yes.
But with the credential, because when somebody heard the name that Shahid Ziaur Rahman is taking over, everybody actually, it became a matter of joy to the people because they all, the Bangladeshis, every single person who were alive in 26th March, and they did not forget the speech that he delivered. I, Major Jia, declared the independence of Bangladesh. So everybody, Jia, oh, we know. This is the guy who declared the independence, and then after the liberation, he went back to the barrack. So everybody had a trust on that. So but he didn't take the power. It was the Justice Saim who actually became the Chief Martial Law Administrator.
And he became the Deputy Chief Martial Law
Deputy Chief Martial Law. And with the turn of event, he became sick, and then Ziaur Rahman became president, and then there was yes, no. But one thing, with the turn of event, look, when Bangladesh used to be called the bottomless basket, the country of tidal wave, flood, and famine, and hunger, from there, Bangladesh started to become a vibrant economic country. Bangladesh became first time self-sufficient in food. In Bangladesh, Ziaur Rahman actually established a legacy of how honesty can be, displayed by a head of the state. It's known to everybody. That he has never been any crook, nor dishonest.
With due all respect to Ziaur Rahman, and I agree with you 110% that individual honesty of Ziaur Rahman was unparalleled to any leader so far that Bangladesh ran, the government.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
I am if anyone cast any doubt, I'm sure everybody will say, do you know what, that person is insane.
Yes.
Ziaur Rahman was such a honest individual, and who was a true patriot, true nationalist Bangladeshi who loved his country. No one can question his integrity.
100%.
But there is always a claim that he tried to clean up his own house. Own house means his secretary, his political leader. Some of them were involved with lots of corruption.
Okay.
Would you like to say that due to his good governing policy or his personal honesty, do you think he got rid of those corruption at the time he was the president?
No, I mean, during his time, he never heeded to any kind of corrupt practices. And he has even retired one of his most senior-most minister when he was reported that there was some foul play in
his ministry.
But I am saying that governing is the art of compromise.
Agree.
So during the governance, sometimes I would never say that he never had to do some kind of compromise, but without compromising the interest of the country at large.
Okay.
Without compromising the basic foundation of the country, basic governance of the country.
Here is the question. Do you think right now the BNP we are watching under the leadership of Begum Khaleda Zia and her son Tariq, do you see the similar character, similar types of leadership?
Well, I would say this way. Look, Shahid Ziaur Rahman actually became the head of the state with the turn of event that was beyond his control.
Exactly.
But we all have to understand that Begum Khaleda Zia was only a housewife.
Right.
She has never participated in
any
public events or works or services.
You are right.
Now, when she took over the party, this is where we have to understand that she has proven her leadership, her capability before even she became the prime minister.
Got it.
Remember how she was doing these movements for democracy to end the tyrannic period of Ershad.
Yes, she did.
She continued her movement even with all his leaders, all the big name, brand name BNP leaders leaving her. But she remained steadfast. She was resolute. She said, no, I will not compromise unless this tyrannic dictator Ershad leaves and democracy is flourished in this country.
True.
And as we know, even the chief of Awami League, Sheikh Hasina, the Jamaat-e-Islami, many other parties, they actually went to election with Ershad. It is only her single-handedly did not participate. People even had to say that she will not only lose the leadership of her party, but she will be
out of the market.
She will be vanished from politics.
It's true.
But things turned out different because she was honest, she was resolute, she was steadfast, and finally there was victory. Ershad had to leave. Then, under a interim government, without any influence by anyone, under an interim government, even though BNP was not as organized in 1991, they got the majority.
Yes, they did.
And they formed the government. So that alone tells you, in the movement, in the revolution, and in the election, everywhere BNP showed under her leadership how capable her leadership was. So she did that, and then she became the prime minister.
Yes, she did.
She governed the country. There was no major complaint against that. And Awami League just made a clue out of the Magura election of parliament
I think
member.
General Majed was there.
General Majed was not in election, but it was broader jurisdiction of him.
Yeah.
But due to that, they started a movement, caretaker government. And it is well known to everyone, this caretaker idea was a brainchild of the then leader of Jamaat, Ghulam Azam.
Yes.
And it was ultimately adopted by Hasina and all other political parties except BNP. There were a lot of talks. At that time, they never thought that they are going to implement a system which might have conflict with the democracy. Rather, they just wanted to get rid of Khaleda Zia and have an election under somebody without BNP.
Right.
So they did that movement, they did lot of destruction of the country, there are a lot of killings, massacre through the opposition, Awami League and their allies movement and all that. Finally, showing utmost respect and for the love and patriotism of the country. Even at that time, if she wanted, she could hold the power. If she would just mercilessly kill people on the street,
She could have done
she
that.
would be ruthless, blatant, she could do that. But she rather thought that everything is for the people of the country. If the people want it, I am going to give it. Gave it, resigned. And as you know, she was, even with that, she was with the 100 some 35 seats, she still got that.
Yep.
Remain in the opposition party for quite long. Then time came, people saw that how Awami League failed to rule the country from 96 to 21. He had 300 godfathers. Our Prime Minister, the then Prime Minister, at that time Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina told that, mentioning one of the worst terrorists in the history of Bangladesh, Jain al-Hazari, that I need 300 Jain al-Hazari for Awami League. And then for her reluctant and loose talks, the highest court of the land called her a wrong-headed lady, which in a sense High Court could not go beyond that language. It is in a way telling a mad politician. But anyway, after that, people started to realize that whatever they promised in the election and whatever the way they rule the country, that is not for the good of the people. They have actually done nothing good for the people, again, except the people of Awami League. So there came the election, and most of us, everyone here who are watching this, know that BNP got 2/3 majority in that election.
And from the government?
And from the government, then they ruled. And at that time, I mean, there were development. I mean, if you go to the statistics of the Bangladesh government, you will see when BNP left, the country's rate, I mean, the GDP growth was...
It starts going up.
No, it was not only, it was 6.7. With all the big talks that Awami League is still telling, they have not been able to cross that GDP growth rate yet. They always set a goal, like this year also they have set a goal of 7%. I hope, I don't want my country to have any bad fate, but I'm saying that they have up to now never been able to do that. But BNP at that time, they had the price of daily necessities at a much lower rate. They did a good governance, except at that time, every other meeting, Sheikh Hasina or her party affiliates were going around on talking about the corruption of Hawa Bhavan and Tariq Rahman. But look at this. Ever since the military-backed caretaker government came, one full term of Awami League went by. This is 2 more years into their new term. Still now, they could not
file one charge.
No, they filed the charge. They could not prove any charge. Only one case has so far been decided, and in that case, he was adjudged innocent, not guilty, and the case was dismissed by the judge. And you know what happened? The judge had to flee the country next day because he was getting so much threat from unknown sources that will kill you. How could you release Tariq Rahman? He left.
Okay.
He's not in the country.
Okay. Samrat bhai, I appreciated that the picture you put the role of BNP, the way they govern the country. I'll just take one step back and I'll mention something that you may agree or you may disagree. I never agreed when BNP government says their GDP level up to a 6.8%, 9%, 7%. Neither I believed when Awami League is making that claim for a reason. Neither BNP nor Awami League ever disclosed our exact budget deficit. When there is a humongous amount of a budget deficit and they are just pushing GDP, that's called inflation of the economy.
No, I would very politely disagree with that, because very directly they are not
Related?
very related, because I will tell you this country, they always run deficit.
Absolutely. But GDP is GDP.
GDP is GDP, like gross this product, how much it was before compared to the previous year, how much it went.
Okay.
The deficit, America is perhaps one of the most deficit country in the world.
Yes.
But they are the best.
Okay. Again, why I took that one, that without disclosing your budget deficit, when you are disclosing only your GDP, and you are not even declaring the implementation, what is the percentage of the budget you are implementing?
No, again, I would say
it has nothing to do with the GDP.
No, I am telling you, every year, if you go to the Department of Statistics,
yes,
or if you go to the planning division,
yes,
you can always have a copy of what was the deficit, what was the budgeted amount, how much was the deficit, what is the percentage of achievement of the goal set by the government. That is always there.
Mr. Samrat, we are living in a country, even though on the paper we says 30% of our people are nowadays can write and read, they're educated people. How many percentage of the people do you think they're going to go to the Department of Statistics and pull out those data?
No, but for this 30%, I would tell again, even the government, if they disclose, this 30% would not be able to read it. So how are they going to tell it?
Okay. Now, I don't know whether you are going to agree with me or not. Every country's, at the end of 21st century, all the head of the government, when they are doing their policy making or making any statement for the development of the country, couple of sides they always disclose. I'm going to improve that education sector. I'm going to put that many percent of the budget to improve the education. I'm going to put that many percentage of the budget to develop the infrastructure. We're going to do these. They're going to do this. Budget deficit, we are trying to cut that budget deficit. We're going to try to balance the budget. That's what the conversation take place in a political arena. Those conversation
actually is supposed to take place in the parliament. The irony of our country is that though we got the democracy back, I will be very blunt, irrespective of my party or other party, we have seen a major absence of the opposition parties in the parliament.
Got it.
That is where actually these things are supposed to be discussed. There can be many discussions, many forums outside, but the appropriate place to discuss is the parliament. But we have seen time and again, when Awami League was in power, in the budget session, many a times BNP was absent, and when BNP was in power, Awami League was in many times. These are the things as you know, opposition is the part of the government.
Absolutely.
In a way. Now, if the oppositions do not participate, because, well, there are other reasons, like if the environment doesn't permit, if you cannot talk in the parliament, if you cannot raise a bill, then you get frustrated and you get out, that is there. But I am saying in the budget, this thick a book that carried by few people, you have to. So it is, I would say, not possible it is not for general people, because general people will never have time to go through 6,000, 8,000 pages of budget.
And go line by line.
But but the summary is always published, and based on that, the government, when they place the budget, you will see there is a preface to the budget where government declares my goal for the education on the big
I know, yeah.
That is in Bangladesh too. I mean, I would be honest with you that even in any government, no budget can be placed in the parliament without declaring the stated goal of the government.
Absolutely. I
That is
understand. Samrat bhai, we are having really very interesting conversation. We're going to take a small commercial break. We'll be right back. I'm talking to one of our political and community activists, Abdul Latif Samrat, today with me at the talk show. We are going to continue our conversation after our commercial break.
Usually, no one likes the hassle of going to court, dealing with government agencies, or law enforcement. The reality is, we live in a world where all of that is inevitable. Legal Network International LLC has all the legal sources of the 21st century. We are armed with dozens of attorneys, CPAs, and other needed professionals. Here is a word from one of the attorneys at Legal Network International, LLC.
Good day. My name is John DeMaio. I'm an attorney at law. I've been an attorney at law since 1978. I was a national debating champion in college for 2 years. I was graduated with honors with degrees in political science and economics from Iona College. I was also graduated with honors from Western New England University School of Law with honors. I clerked for 2 Supreme Court judges here in Manhattan. I had a national publication in the areas of tax and finance. I've had my own practice for about 20 years, and I've done everything that can be litigated, from small claims court to landlord-tenant to divorce to personal injury to criminal cases, including 4 separate murder trials, all of which I won. It would be my honor to represent you and to serve you through the support network. Legal Network, of which I am a member, is a unique opportunity for members of the Bangladesh and other communities to have first-rate representation through their sponsor, Jacob Milton.
অডিয়েন্স, আমি প্রতি শোয়ের মতো এবারও আপনাদেরকে আমন্ত্রণ জানাবো আমাদের কমিউনিটির পেশাজীবীদের নিয়ে আপনার মন্তব্য শুনব। আমাদের কমিউনিটিতে ফরচুনেটলি অনেক ডেন্টিস্ট রয়েছেন যারা আমাদের কমিউনিটি সেবা করে থাকেন অনেক বছর ধরে। অনেকেই ভালো কাজ করছেন, আমাদের কমিউনিটির অনেক লোকজনদেরকে সাহায্য করছেন। দয়া করে আমাদেরকে লিখুন, আপনার মতামত প্রদান করুন। এই ডেন্টিস্টদের ভিতরে কে সবচেয়ে ভালো ডেন্টিস্ট এবং কেন ভালো? পাশাপাশি এটাও আপনি আমাদেরকে জানান কোন ডেন্টিস্ট সবচেয়ে খারাপ এবং কেন খারাপ। আপনার মতামত আমাদের কমিউনিটি ডেভেলপমেন্টে অনেক সহায়ক হবে। আপনার সুযোগ্য মতামত আমরা যদি সবার সামনে তুলে ধরি, যে প্রশংসা পাওয়ার যোগ্য সে প্রশংসা পাবে, এবং যাকে আমরা প্রশংসা করব না সেও সুযোগ পাবে তার নিজের সার্ভিসকে আরও ডেভেলপ করার। আমাদেরকে সুযোগ দিন এই কাজটুকু করার, যাতে করে আমরা সবাই উপকৃত হই। ধন্যবাদ। Welcome back. This is Jacob Milton, and I'm talking to our one patriot Bangladeshi named Abdul Latif Samrat, who happens to be a political and social activist, as well as he was the followers of Bangladesh Nationalist Party. Mr. Samrat, out of all humor, can you say very honestly that why BNP choose Jamaat Islami? when BNP knew that it would be a burden for them to run a government? What was BNP's ideology to pick Jamaat Islami at that time to bring them to the coalition?
I mean, you have to understand one thing. A lot of times we actually lose sight of the game behind the scene. You see that when they needed, meaning Awami League needed, they took Jamaat in their lap.
Did it?
And also, as I said, you can, verify from your own resources that this caretaker government idea was a brainchild of Ghulam
Ghulam
Azam.
Azam.
And subsequently, when there was election of presidency of the country, at that time, Awami League leaders, many prominent Awami League leaders visited the residence of Ghulam Azam.
They almost offered the presidential position to Ghulam Azam.
So I'm saying that when needed, everybody went to there. It is about the election calculation.
Right.
There are certain percentage of vote with Jamaat Islam. If somebody can secure it, they get the power. If they cannot, they would not. And also, Awami League also has a vote bank.
They do.
I do not want to mention
Got
who
it.
they are, but they have a vote bank. So, in order to fight them effectively during election, that BNP and Jamaat was only a coalition of election. There is no ideological coalition. There is no stated goal of establishing very particular ideology in conjunction with Jamaat. There was not. But
Nowadays, it's become a fashion. Anyone put a kufi or saying, I'm a practicing Muslim, the society we are living, they love to brand them as fanatics, fundamentalists, terrorists. Jamaat Islami is no different than this. Can you tell me, based on your experience and idea, that BNP has nothing to do with the terrorism, nothing to do with this type of activities, even you know that Jamaat was not involved with any types of terrorism?
no, I mean, look, I am not here to defend or support what Jamaat does. That is their party. Somebody from their party should be more competent to defend them.
Got it?
But from BNP, let me tell you this. The Undersecretary of United States very recently visited Bangladesh, and he was pointedly, categorically asked, do you think BNP is a terrorist party? He flatly, pointedly, blankly said, no, it is not.
Okay.
BNP is a democratic party. And you would see that even yesterday, Barnikat, the ambassador, went to meet Begum Khaleda Jia, the head of our party. And all the times, because it is a principle by this country that they don't condone any terrorist association.
Okay.
So, you see, all the European Union leaders, all the big country leaders, they are always going to her talking about the
True.
future of the politics, future of the democracy. BNP does not believe in terrorism. And to be very honest, as a Muslim, I can say Islam doesn't believe in terrorism.
I agree.
It is some section of people with the wrong theology and ideology. They are actually earning a bad name for Islam.
I agree with you 110%.
Terrorism
Has no
place in Islam or even in our society. Bangladeshis are generally very peace-loving, modest society. Yes. Do they do movement? Yes, they do. They chant slogans, they go, they want to, if they don't like any government, they create mass movement, democratic movement. That is a different thing. But terrorism is something BNP has no association. It does not condone it. It doesn't like it. It has no intention of getting to power through the act of terrorism. That is period.
There is one serious question,
Yeah.
Mr. Samrat, that is based on the current review or poll, BNP got more, BNP is a more popular party in Bangladesh than Awami League.
Yes.
BNP got most supporter from the people who do not do political party. They have no affiliation with the party, but they are supporter of BNP. After having all those people under their disposal, what is going on that BNP failed to come up with the true agenda and face this tyrannic government?
No, you have to understand, this is one thing many of people drop the ball here. Look, I have supporters. It doesn't necessarily mean they are ready to die on the street in front of the point blank shooting by this Awami League police or RAB or whoever. We have to have a democratic environment. I don't know if you, how old or young you were at that time, during the 69 movements. How many places you saw that the army was shooting the mass people? Nowhere.
There wasn't.
There was.
I know.
Even during we call Shoirachar Ershad, except few incidences here and there.
He did not allow army to shoot people.
Shoot people. Even during the 96 caretaker movement led by Awami League and Jamaat, how many people were shot by the BNP government?
No.
Now, if you have a government who will shoot at sight if you go to do anything, how do you expect? And now, look at this. I have police, I have army, I have RAB, I have everything. That is fine as a government head, they all should be under you. But how do you apply them to the citizens movement, peaceful citizen movements,
When
chanting slogans for your downfall? And then look at this, when I'm not supporter or I'm not against, but when there were bloggers saying bad things against our beloved Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the Hifazat Islam came to the city. They were, after all the things were done, they just were sitting in the Shabla Chattar. They were praying, somebody was doing tasbih, somebody was doing tahajjud, somebody was reciting Quran, sitting over there. Millions of people were there. And what did we see?
they use force.
What kind of force?
That was massive force by the army, RAB, police from
I
everywhere.
am telling you, there were two incidences. Even those does not compare what happens that night. The Jallianwala Bagh incidents during the British period, they took cannon and put it into a meeting and did a massacre.
Yes.
And then there was another massacre done by China by the order of Deng Xiaoping in the Tiananmen Square. They killed unarmed students.
Yep.
And this is actually much greater than that,
Okay.
much infamous than that. So I'm saying that this support, imagine after all this tyranny, after all these operations and all this, still BNP has the largest supporter.
Yes, they do.
All BNP is asking, they don't ask anything else from you. All they are saying, you are claiming you have done a great economic development. You have done all the great things, took the country to the lower middle income group. You have done so good things that all the IMF, World Bank, everybody is praising your act. Fine, we agree to that. But then why you cannot give an election under a
Caretaker government.
whatever name, under a government which is not politically biased?
Got it.
Like any interim government, a free and fair independent election commission, give an election. If you people get you elected, run the country again.
Well, if the Awami League says at the end of BNP's last government, there was a blame come on the shoulder of Begum Khaleda Zia and her son that they tried to stay in the power, putting President Yazuddin Ahmed.
This is, look, I am always, this is something I was talking to another talk show, that only complaint they had that they increased the retirement age of the judges by 2 years, they claim. So that came Hassan, one of the political supporter of BNP, he was the Chief Justice, so he can become the caretaker government.
Okay.
So, Awami League, I mean, that increase of age was 100% legal.
Yes.
Because the consideration was that there were lack of good judges. There are lack of good judges. If they retired early, we cannot replenish those kind of good judges. So they increased the age. That was 100% legal, but Awami League had doubt that this guy, because once he was an international secretary, if he becomes the head of the government, then election will
be
biased in favor of BNP.
Right.
And then the turn of events happened one after another. But now it is a simple logic. If Awami League cannot believe a person who used to be an international secretary is nothing. They are all way down the list. There are chairman, senior vice chairman, vice chairmen, secretary, joint secretaries, and all the way down there. So and he was not current. So an old international secretary, they were fearful that election will be heavily biased. Now look at this. Then how you want BNP to believe a government headed by the head of a political party?
Well,
Hasina herself.
Well,
and then her full cabinet, her police, her military, her RAB, everything is lined up to support her to win the election.
Okay.
Look at this one incident. Few days back, somebody joined Awami League from Jatiyo Party, and the local officer in charge, OC, imagine, he welcomed him. He thanked him for joining Awami League. Is he a Awami Leaguer? Is this at all his duty to do that? This is one. I could cite many. So the administration has been biased. All the forces government forces has become a partitions. That's why BNP does not feel secured.
To go.
Well, then why? They should give a shot. They did give a shot. Look at Upazila election.
That was really bad.
First two
local election.
First two election, BNP was getting enormously double what Awami League got.
Yes.
And then see the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth.
It's gone.
Everything gone. Look at this.
Local election.
Dhaka city election. They are lame excuses. Oh, BNP don't have people even to give polling agent. How do they give polling agent? Even with all this tyranny, because BNP got more than 700,000 votes in two mayoral elections. So those who have 700,000 voters, they couldn't find 3,000 polling agents? Only because even if I am a political supporter of BNP, I am a post holder of BNP, but if somebody calls me, if you come to the polling center, you will be a dead body going back.
You're not going to
go.
Absolutely.
I am committed, but I am not that committed to give my life for the election. So that's where I am not saying that they would kill all 3,000, but intimidation, threatening, that always works. It is only one life everybody has. They don't want to take a chance. Maybe they won't kill me. Maybe they won't.
Samrat bhai, in the world, when we are looking at a democratic society or political party, those who are governing their country, you mentioned one specific subject. Under a ruthless ruler, how a political party can come up with the true agenda and implement their views or role.
Yes.
Good idea. I have one thing I'll ask you, bring it to your attention. You remember in 1970s, 1980s, when Nationalist Party of South Africa pushed the apartheid, Nelson Mandela were being forced to go underground. He sent Thabo Mbeki to Lusaka and says, do you know what? We're going to do arms struggle. You and me, we are not preaching that Bangladesh should follow the same thing. But do you think Hasina government or the current ruler is more ruthless than Nationalist Party in South Africa?
At present, I would say they actually exceeded that, because the ruthlessness you have to judge by the situation on the ground. Do you think in the whole of Bangladesh anybody can hold a meeting, can do a free speech without their permission? Nobody can. If, like, say for example, you want to bring a rally, you have to go to them, you have to beg to them for permission, then they will not give you the permission.
But those are the same norm. When BNP was in power, it was the same rule, right?
No, it was, you have to understand that at that time, anybody can come out and express their opinion.
Without getting shot by army. That's what you were saying?
Without being shot by police or any
Army.
paramilitary forces.
Yeah.
I am saying that the first couple of years by the Awami League, when they get elected in 2008, it was different. But as the years progressed and their intention to cling to the power for more periods, like they already have been saying, we have to be, look at this, their intentions. People have to follow this. Syed Ashraful Islam, the Secretary General of Awami League. How can a Secretary General of a political party in power can make even such a statement? He said we should give Sheikh Hasina at least 4 or 5 more terms to rule this country. She is already 67 or 8. 5 terms will take her to the 25 years. So 68 plus 28, Ashraf envisions that she should be given time to rule up to she becoming 93 years old.
Do you think?
One. Then I thought he is a political guy. Maybe he made a stupid statement. Political people make some statements as a matter of nowhere. But then I was most surprised, a career foreign service employee, officer of the government of Bangladesh, who used to be a foreign secretary of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. Now he is the foreign minister. He made a statement that Sheikh Hasina should be allowed to remain in power until her death.
Wow.
So, that tells you, gives you an idea what they envision of practicing the democracy.
Do you think we went back to pre-1975 that if anyone support Awami League, they can do politics peacefully in Bangladesh? If they don't support politics,
that is essentially being said by, look at, they have brought the subversion of a state charge against Begum Khaleda Zia. What did she say? There are some dispute about the numbers of how many martyrs were there. She didn't say there were no martyrs. She didn't say there were only 1 lakh. She said it is an academic discussion, kind of. She said there are some arguments, some debates on this. That's all she said. She have been subjected to the subversion charge of the country.
okay.
But then they said the charge has been made as per section 120A(b) of the Penal Code of Bangladesh. I went through the Penal Code of Bangladesh very thoroughly last night, and nowhere I have seen anything that would make or construe this statement to be a subversion of the state. But the case has been filed. Home Ministry, as usual, has given the permission to proceed a case against her. the summon has been served to her house to appear before the court on 3rd of March. Now, if that is what it is, like one of our vice chairmen, Shah Muazzam Hussain, who was once the president of Satru League, a freedom fighter, the cabinet minister of Awami League government and everything, he told, better you tell people honestly, nobody has right to do any politics. It is Awami League or nothing.
So, well,
Better say that.
well,
Like, look at this. Why a man cannot tell, what do you mean by it is a settled issue?
there is no settled issue on that
There
subject.
is, like, I remember in one of the drama I saw, the Humayun Ahmed, he was saying in the drama that we should really have a list of our shaheeds, which I support. Every village in Bangladesh, every village should have monument writing the every single person who became martyr for their beloved motherland. Why not?
Okay.
That's how we find out. Well, I am not saying it has to be 29,938,000. No, we can always round the figure. That is different. But we have only 225,000 names in the list of murders in the Ministry of Freedom Affairs. Why cannot we get as much? I am not saying you have to have 30. Let us get close. And then, if you do not have their name, what offense they have done to this nation by giving their life, that their family doesn't get any advantage of their martyrdom, they don't get any allowances from the government for their martyrdom. What wrong they have done to this country? They given their life. Why not at least they can have a recognition of their name in their village saying Mr. such and such became martyr? Still, like me, I am still alive. I can tell point blank, eyes closed, how many people died in my village. And I am not saying take my account. There are at least, if not more, 200 people alive in my village. They were alive in the time of Liberation War. Go to them. Don't
Ask
believe.
them, talk to them.
Ask everybody. And how could it be tough? 60,000 people get the university children out to every single village, write down how many people died, put their monuments there. That would be a great achievement. You are saying you are the beholder of the Mukti Juddher Chetona.
Then why you are not doing it?
What is wrong with that?
I have a question. What is everything related to Mukti Juddho and freedom fighter? When someone claims I'm a freedom fighter and someone says I'm the supporter of Awami League, do you think is it the same thing, freedom fighter and Awami League?
No.
It's not.
No, how could that be? I mean, there are people who never did Awami League as a freedom fighter. There were people from the village, those who don't know what politics is.
Okay,
they went to freedom fighting.
I asked this question purposely. Nowadays, I have utmost respect for freedom fighters, those who sacrifice their life.
Everybody has. We all do.
I really do. But why this become a pattern that whenever the freedom fighters are talking about our beloved country Bangladesh or their sacrifice, they try to include Awami League within their dialogue? Why this effort was being made by?
No, it is very simple. Look, A.K. Khandekar was a minister of this last government of Awami League.
Yeah.
As soon as he said that Bangabandhu said Joy Pakistan, they disowned him. He's gone. Now they want to take away his title. Now they want to take away his Mukti Juddha certificate. They forced him to retire from the sector commanders forum, and everything started happening to anybody who would dissent. This is the bad thing. As I was telling in another forum, that Gandhi is the most revered leader in India.
He is.
Not only India, in many other countries,
many other continent,
people
respect him
for different reasons.
Right.
I might not agree with what he did. I have my own view that is different. But Mahatma Gandhi is the father of the nation of India,
Right.
Indian nation. Only few days back, few months back, one of the renowned writers in India who got the very prestigious Booker writer title,
I know. Yeah.
Arundhati Rai.
Yep.
She gave a speech in Tamil Nadu, Bhubaneswar University, that Gandhi did condone the caste system, so he was such a bad person. We should not name any institution after him,
Yep.
and the institution already bears his name, it should be changed. Imagine what a strong statement she has done. Nobody has brought any suit against her that you have done something subversive of the state.
But can you imagine anyone says anything about Sheikh Mujib in Bangladesh at this
That
moment?
is exactly what I am saying, that look, we are talking about political leaders. We are not talking about prophets, gods, goddesses. This is a political leader. You should have a right to discuss him as a human being. He might have done mistakes, he might have done great things. Everybody should have a chance to talk about it. They should criticize, they should research and find out what he could do better, what he could do worse, and what right thing he did, and sometimes what are the wrong things he did. Why any criticism will constitute a subversion of the state?
We are almost end of our show, Mr. Samrat. Still, I have one or two subjects I'd like to discuss. Do you think the way our country is governing the ruling party, do you see any foreseeable future BNP or any other political party can go to the street and show their views or dream to have non-violent movement in front of a military gun, in front of a police force?
Look, you have already seen an example.
Yes.
Like the recent meeting that held by BNP in front of their office. They wanted race course, they didn't give it. Sarwardi Uddan, we didn't get it. Only few hours before the meeting, they were told that you get the permission to
You
do
can do
it
that.
in front. Did you see the number of people
Yeah,
that there
yeah.
was?
Yep.
Did you see that these people has been accusing the youngest son of Begum Khalida Jia, Arafat Rahman Koko, of corruption and all these mischiefs and this? Did you have a chance to see the funeral, the janaza prayer?
And how many people were there?
How many people were there?
Okay.
It is absolutely this, that everybody have to understand BNP has its supporters, BNP has its commitment. It is just that BNP does not want to lose their beloved workers and leaders on the guns and bullets of the current regime. But would we come back? That is one thing, nobody knows that when things turn, and it turns very quickly. It doesn't take too long to turn the tables.
You're the supporter of BNP for a long period of time. Can you say it from the core of your heart that BNP never preach violence against the society or an individual?
I can testify to the best of knowledge. I am not the party policymakers, but the actions and the policies that are stated in our constitution of the party and the policies that are being followed and executed by our party, I see nowhere that if BNP would do any terrorist activity to go to the power or to destabilize the country, for which BNP's leader actually declared the independence. He did not fly and go to the theater road of Calcutta. He was fighting on the field. He got shot by the Pakistani bullets. He did the greatest thing. And also, if you look around our leaders, BNP has more titled freedom fighters than Awami League at any point of time. We can compare that. So I would say one thing from your show, I mean, to the current government of Awami League and its leader, the Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, though I believe that the election was not an election, but somebody is ruling with that spirit, I would say, I would want to be respectful, that in the name of Allah, please be considerate for the country. The way you are talking about the development of the country, people know. You have already increased the budget of the ongoing projects to 36,000 crore taka than its original amount. You have actually allowed your affiliated organization to do rampant loot and doing, you see, every day we see what happening between.
It is going on.
So please control them, take a deep breath, think about the country, think about the nation that was liberated after the martyrdom of millions of people. Give a free and fair election under an interim government, under an independent election commission. Get the election, prove your popularity. If the government chooses you, go back to power. If the government chooses any other party, let them go to power. Believe me, without democracy, democracy is not the best, but nobody knows anything better than democracy yet. So we want our country to go back to a free, fair, democratic principle for which actually we fought our liberation war.
Mr. Samrat, within a short notice, I'm really thankful that you came to the show, you share your views.
Thank you for inviting
and
me.
And in the future, I would love to have you back and have this conversation goes on. And in the future, definitely we're going to meet again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was my pleasure and privilege. Thanks.
I was talking to Mr. Samrat, not as a political leader, but a social and political activist who happens to live in New York for a long period of time. I cannot say that all the conversation has pragmatism or all the conversation is provable with the fact, but one thing sounds logical, that some of the information came out of his mouth is not contradictory. He did not contradict his ideas. At the same time, the way BNP adopted their own policy to govern the country, as well as the way they're running their political party. I questioned him that whether Tariq Zia or Khaleda Zia was fair at that time, even though he dodged that bullet, but again, he did not mention that they were innocent. Having said, in a political arena, no political leader in the world can claim that this political party or that political leader did not commit anything wrong, did not do anything wrong, and did everything right. If someone does that, I don't know their name. Even a guy from Czech Republic, he won the Nobel, he was respected by lots of people like President Václav Havel. Even he says, people are looking at me like they're looking at an angel. I'm not an angel. I did a lot of things in my personal life that don't prove that I'm a bad leader. Whatever crimes or criminal activities or failure of a political leader is not making him a good or bad leader. That's his personal weakness. In our country, we cannot say this word for any other leader than a couple of people. I respected Mr. Samrat for one reason. When he mentioned current Prime Minister's name, he said it very respectfully. That shows he's a gentleman. But when our current ruler mentioned a former president's name, even says Zia Rahman was not a freedom fighter, and when she claims sometimes Major Jalil was not a freedom fighter, well, that shows that depthness of her own standard that disqualify her even become a pragmatic leader who can run a country named Bangladesh. Fortunately or unfortunately, we have that person who is ruling the country. This conversation is really unfortunate. Mr. Samrat says, under these regime, no political activity can take place for the benefit of Bangladesh. Why is that? Then conversation goes back that our country went back prior to 1975 when one party rule was there. The reason a military leader like Zia Rahman came out of the barrack who preached multi-parties participation to govern the country. I'm wondering, when a military leader can preach a democracy, at the same time, the daughter of a great leader, Sheikh Mujib, do not preach democracy. The way current ruler is acting is not the prescription of the democracy. The way she is ruling the country, she's just heading right opposite to her own father's dream. Because her father was a pragmatic leader, he was a great leader. Even a political activist like Mr. Samrat, he is mentioning Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's name with utmost respect. Then why our current head of the government cannot respect some of the people who sacrificed their life for the sake of our beloved country, Bangladesh? Thank you for watching us. I'll see you next time.